This is Perspectivas Latinas, a community service of CAN TV. I'm your host, Juan Carlos Hernandez. The Mexican community of South Chicago has had a long history dating back to the early 20th century. Our guests, Frank Corona and Juan Huizar, are here to talk about their organization, the Mexican Patriotic Club, and how their work ties to that history. Welcome to both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
It's really great to have you here because I have roots in South Chicago, and it's always exciting to learn about the history of our community there. So let's start off talking to you, Frank, about how you became part of this organization and some of your own history in South Chicago, please.
Well, first of all, I'd like to thank CAN TV and you, Juan Carlos, for doing such a great job. My family and our community gives you, it's just fantastic for keeping the history and the community people on this channel, on CAN TV. I was born and raised in South Chicago, and I participated as a young man in the dances and the parades, and I became a member later on in the 70s, late 70s. My wife and I became members of the Mexican Patriotic Club.
Why did you become part of it?
Well, a lot of our friends and family has a long history now. The Mexican Patriotic Club is the oldest organization in the Midwest.
The oldest,
75 years in running.
Wow.
And not only do we participate in the desfile, in the parade, we have the Cinco de Mayo Fest, we have our dinner dance, and other community things that we raise money for scholarships for the young women who are running for the Queen, for the Patriotic Club. But it's something positive and interesting and a lot of fun.
So you've been part of this since the 70s?
A little late 70s, probably.
It's quite a long time. Most people are in a few years and they're out. What's kept you going? You said, yeah, something positive, but even then, a lot of people say, you know what, I got to take care of my things now.
That's a very good point, because my wife and I did take a leave of absence when our children were in grammar school and high school. We did leave for 5 years or 7 years. I think we took a leave, and then we came back full of energy. And right now, presently, my wife is the treasurer. I started out as the chairman of the ad book. We have an ad book, and we have a Cinco de Mayo teachers recognition luncheon every year. It coincides with our dinner dance, which is in August, our parade, and it's just something positive. It coincides with our church, Our Lady Guadalupe Church.
Which is the oldest Mexican church.
The oldest Mexican church, and South Chicago is the oldest Mexican barrio in the city of Chicago.
Yeah, a lot of people think Pilsen, think a little village, but
back of the yards.
Back of the yards.
And originally, no, it was South Chicago, because before World War II, the steel mills, the railroads, we had a lot of industry, a lot of work back then in the days. And back in the 30s, 1930s is when the Patriotic Club started. And our historian, we have pictures of our past queens, and our historian, we've had a few historians, and Father Severino Lopez, and the first priest was, what was his name, Juan?
Catalino.
Catalino was the first one that started. We had Severino Lopez, and the other one was after Severino Lopez.
The first president, Santoyo, I believe it was.
Santoyo, yeah, Montoya, Sainz, El Father Sainz. But it's an incentive not only for ourselves, for our families. It's a lot of family, comadres, compadres together working, community orientated. But it was our kids were involved. Our daughters went, our sons went, and it's just very interesting
and fulfilling, I imagine too. Well, Juan, you're obviously not of this generation. No. Tell me about what drew you to this organization. Are you from South Chicago or the East Side?
Yes, I've actually born and raised in the South Side of Chicago. I was born in the South Chicago neighborhood. I was there up until '89, and then from there my family moved over to the East Side, and I've been there ever since. The way I got involved with the MPC was, well, for the past X amount of years I've been involved with the community, and I knew their history as far as being the 75-year institution. They've been around forever, and I know they've hosted the parade for the past 75 years as well. They've done this every year since they've been in existence. And
I'm sure people were like 75 years. It must seem new to like staggering.
right, I mean, to my knowledge, when I was a kid, I mean, I knew who they were, and I've known they've been around since I was a kid. But as I got older and I started to get more, acquainted with the club, I seen, wow, these guys have been around for 75 years. Then I found out that they're not just the biggest, in the state, but the whole entire Midwest region. So, which is pretty impressive. And I also knew about, the neighborhood being the oldest, in the whole entire city of Chicago, aside from Pilsen, Little Village, So you start to become a little bit more proud of your neighborhood because just knowing more and more of the history, and it's a good feeling. But I started to attend some of their fundraisers, and a few fundraisers ago, I had a sit down with Frank, just a side conversation with myself, Frank, and the president Carmela, and they were telling me how they wanted to reach out to the to the youth. They're saying, well, there's all these members, just look around you. It's a great group of people, but we are getting older and we need new, fresh faces, new ideas. So they extended an invitation to me, and I'm like, yeah, sure. I mean, just whenever you want. And we exchanged information. One day, Carmela reached out to me on Facebook, and she said, we want to invite you to our next meeting. So I attended. And along with myself, they also invited a few others to be members, and again, they were youth. So, and they're like, okay. So they brought us all in as new members, and I started giving my input on all the ideas, and then all of a
What
sudden,
are some of those ideas? Because, well, I definitely want to talk a little more about the history and how of the organization, how it stayed alive and made it to this day. But what do you hope to offer these younger folk to draw them in? What are you looking toward? What are you hoping to build on?
I mean,
You have a
they-
lot to build on.
Right.
Yeah, I
right.
mean, they actually have a lot going on for themselves already as it was. I think
Okay.
where I came in, I just brought brought my experiences, and I said, well, you know what, you could probably, for example, let's talk about the parade. We could probably incorporate this idea into the parade. These are some things that I've done in the past. And we talked about the scholarship dinner,
Well-
and I said we could probably do this and that, and so I threw my ideas, and Carmela, she said, we have a little slogan here at the MPC. And I said, okay, well, what is that? She's like, if you thought it, you better follow through with it.
Right.
I'm like, oh my God. So I'm like, maybe I should stop talking, because I already spit out a whole bunch of ideas. So, but I'm like, yeah. So I'm like, go ahead, that's fine. I'll spearhead, all these little things that I said I would do. So
Now you have to understand, David and Carmela were very active in the community with their children. And with these new young generation, with this high tech, not only the computers, texting, Skype, Google, email. I just started my Facebook. I just recently got on Facebook. Everybody's from Mexico to the United States has asked me, Frank, Facebook, that's, you have to.
Yeah, that's
So
true.
you got to keep up with the
these
times.
young people nowadays, because of the education they have, we have Laura Cruz Scholarship. Laura Cruz is located in California. She's so helpful. If it wasn't for Laura Cruz, I'll get more into detail about what her purpose and what she does. But David and Carmela have been very functional in the community. For
David
many
and
things.
Carmela Vargas.
Yes.
Carmela is the president of the president right now, and David Vargas with his family, beautiful family. But the ideas and the things they bring in, the positive thing, they have the energy, the technology is what I'm. They make the context that's incredible, and they do it very quickly. I'm catching up right now. I have a smartphone.
I mean, they have they have a great base. All we're just coming in
Right.
is just expanding on it a little bit. Bringing, our youth, our expertise, our education, and just building on it.
And you have to understand, a lot of our members are passing on from the 75 years. Our members are dwindling off, and it's time consuming. The work. It's a lot of work. We have committees. We have committees for the Cinco de Mayo luncheon for the teachers, which I'm on, and my wife is, like I said, the treasurer, Carmela, and Phil Vasquez. Phil Vasquez's son, who just graduated from Harvard. We're so proud of compadre, and Mexicano, the graduating from Harvard. And this is our goals. These are our goals: get our children into that education, into the Ivy League, into the corporations and CEOs and leaders of the community of South Chicago. We have them there. They're just little secrets that we have pockets of young men and women, and the women. My goodness, the young ladies we have are incredibly
Dynamic.
Dynamic. It's just that I can't find the words to explain how the motivation. You know, how do we get the incentive and the motivation to get some of these people involved? Some of them have it just natural. You know,
Like Juan here.
Well, like Juan here, he's
Okay.
they step up to the plate.
So that is one of the challenges, is, members passing on, and people, and I'm sure that another challenge is people moving out and away.
Out and away.
Yeah, like for example, people go on to school and they might disconnect. So that is a challenge. How have you responded to that challenge in the past? Because I'm sure it's not a new one.
That's a good question. You know, at our dinner dance, we emphasize, and the girls come up and the young men, and they say, "We left, but we came back." They come back, and we ask them to come back to be role models or to participate in the parade and the luncheon. And that's a difficult thing. A lot of people, when they become successful, they do move on to different states throughout the country. My son's in Phoenix. Laura's in California. A lot of our members, and we keep in touch now through the technology, through the website, through the Facebook, through the Google, to the Skype and Twitter, and
Oh, you
there's
know
so
about Skype.
much. Oh yeah, we know about Skype. The Skype it's incredible. These young people bring this. And they have the motivation. It makes me feel good. The future, we don't have to worry about the future in the Latino and the Mexican community.
You're in good hands, right?
We are in good hands. Our kids are they're sensitive. They feel the obligation that they know that school is the key. And they're not only going for their bachelor's and master's. Our children are going for their PhDs. And this is another thing we're pushing also. Education is what the Mexican Patriotic Club pushes on to our children.
So you're mentioning education, and you have this, you have the scholarship dinner dance where, give me the details about that. How do young women participate in this? Because I'm sure a lot of young women might be interested or curious about it.
Yes.
Well, there's criteria
There's
to
a
begin
criteria.
with.
One, you could elaborate on that. The age, the residency, and you have to be Mexicana.
Yeah, it's actually in conjunction with the Lara Cruz Scholarship Fund is in conjunction with the banquet for the coronation of the Queen. This is an annual thing that's been going on. So we have awarded now over $75,000 in scholarships to these young ladies. Every year you'll have around 5 participants. The scholarship is actually a $4,000 scholarship that is awarded over the course of 4 years, so $1,000 annually. Like I said, we've done over $75,000 now. It's always awarded to a college-bound senior of Mexican descent from the southeast.
They have to be at a certain level in school. What is that? 30%.
They need to be in the top 30% of their graduation class.
Yes.
Show a history of community service, and provide an essay.
I'm shaking my head because these women, these girls that come on and participate, are incredible. They're we had one of our queens that came back. She has her master's, and they're incredible. And they're fulfilling what they said they wanted to do. They want to become teachers or start their own business, and they contribute. They come back and give us.
It's nice to see when they come back and know that the money that we awarded to them wasn't just thrown away. It was actually put to use. Right. They come back and they talk about what they've done, that if they graduated or how far along in their school there is, what the career is. So it's nice to see that it works. And it's not just being thrown away. They're doing something with it.
In our area, because of the industrialization, which means that all the mills are gone, all the businesses are gone.
Right.
The high school I graduated, my wife graduated, was predominantly Jewish, and there was a lot of business. Presently, it's blighted area. It's and that's what we're talking about. Where you're from and the area. So that's what we are going to build up. The Mexican Patriotic Club is trying to get some of these leaders or the community active people to help us start businesses again and programs for youth programs. That's what we.
Well, you did bring in some pictures from a banquet, and I would like to talk about some of those. There aren't that many, but it's just to give people an idea of some of what you're doing. Let's take a look at that right now.
Sure.
Fine, Juan.
Okay, we have
There's my lovely wife, Yolanda.
your wife, huh?
I've been with her. I've been married 42 years.
Mhm.
She's presently the treasurer
Mhm.
of the Mexican Patriotic
42
Club.
years.
Yes, I've been
Wow.
four children, 4 kids, 9 grandchildren. But Yolanda's
Looks like a very energetic woman.
she's
She's so how long has she been treasurer now?
she's been the treasurer for the last,
Mhm.
I believe, 4 years.
Mhm. And this is the queen.
Yes, that's the queen, and that's Patricia, one of our members, our new members that joined also.
Mhm.
And
And you invite people to the banquet, right? And
yes, this is the banquet right here. These are
members.
the 3 runner-ups right now out of the 3. We usually have from 3 to 5, sometimes 6. It depends. This year we had 3 runner-ups, and these are the 3 that were at the dinner dance.
And this dinner dance takes place when?
Actually, it just passed this
Just
year.
past this year,
Just had it on.
but every
Yes.
year it's in what month?
August, the month
August.
of August.
Yeah.
Yes,
And it's
Typically like a month before the parade.
okay.
right.
And then during the parade, the queen and the runners-up have their own float.
They have their I believe they're on the same float. The Reina is on the float, and the runner-ups are right beside her, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's every August, and then the parade is every September.
Yeah, it's typically
Yes.
the Sunday right before Mexican independence.
Okay. And you were mentioning during our conversation before the show that you have different guests of honor that come in.
Right, we invite a Grand Marshal every year.
Okay. And who have been your Grand Marshals in the past?
The most recent one we invited Martin Castro.
Martin Castro,
Mm-hmm.
the son of Ray Castro.
Okay. And so those are your 2 big events in the summer and I guess late summer, early fall.
Right.
And then you have the honoring of educators, right?
Right, that's the dinner.
That's the Cinco de Mayo luncheon. We recognize the Latino, the Mexican teachers in the South Chicago area. We have various high schools, grammar schools, and we have a committee that works on reading the resumes of the teachers that participate. So the committee usually picks out about 5, and we give them awards, and they have to be from the South Chicago area. And it's usually outstanding teachers that have been in our community for years, 15, 20, 25, 30 years. We have, it's incredible. We have the grammar schools and the high schools.
And this committee, so they have a connection with these schools. They go and ask the principals, or how does that work?
I mean, a lot of the members have sat on LACs, or their kids sit on LACs, so, we're aware of who the educators are in the area. But, I mean, at the same time, it's not just what they do in the classroom, but just like with the participants in the coronation with the queens, it's not just what they do in the classroom. We want to see the history of community service. So a lot of these teachers, some of them are actually from the neighborhood, so they take pride in the neighborhood. So it's just not teaching the kids, it's what they do outside the classroom as well.
Okay, so those are the big 3 events. I'm still curious as to, and you mentioned you bringing new ideas, you bringing new energy to the Mexican Patriotic Club. What do you hope to bring in more young professionals, young people like yourself? What ideas are you, well, I don't want to get you in trouble, but what are you thinking, and maybe just laying the groundwork for a future?
Well, to begin, I mean, like I said, they have a great foundation of
Right,
events that they do
certainly,
already.
right.
So we're just trying to expand on those and take them to the next level, even if it's something as small as, social media. The younger generation, they're using Twitter, real popular. They're using Facebook. Some are even using the Instagram and the Pinterest, which
Yeah, Pinterest, yeah.
I'm not aware or how that works. I haven't used it, but yeah, you can expand what they're currently doing. With social media. I've been involved with fundraising, so I can bring that expertise to the table. How to do raffles, But I'm not the only one that. See, I come from my background is in finance. Now, as a I don't want to say the word hobby, but as a passion, what I've done is fundraising. You know, so I bring that to the table. So that's what I did in my part time. Now there's other professionals in the area that are young professionals that are also interested in contributing to the MPC. They may have a background in political science. They may have a background in marketing, branding. Everyone can bring something to the table. So as long as you have the heart and desire to be a part of the MPC, if you have the love in your neighborhood, because like we said earlier, there's a lot of people, young professionals, they move on to things. They move out the neighborhood for reasons being a career, or a spouse, but a lot of them, they stick around because they love their neighborhood. They didn't have a reason to leave because maybe their career allowed them to stay, in the city of Chicago, like myself. Coming from business, I mean, there's so many opportunities in the city of Chicago. I haven't had a reason to leave. Now I know others that they chose professions that maybe it's not the best location. And let's say you want to go into acting. Well, you're probably going to move out to L.A. or or New York or something for Broadway. But yeah, a lot of people, there's so many young people that come from different backgrounds. They bring something to the table. So a combination of that and a combination of having the desire to stay in the neighborhood to help out the MPC, I mean, that's what we want, and it's going to continue to grow. They're just passing on the torch. So.
That's right. And you mentioned something that piqued my curiosity. The scholarship is named after a woman that now lives in California.
Laura Cruz.
Tell me about that and why that name is maintained even though she's not here.
Laura Cruz's relation to Carmela and David Vargas. She made a promise that whatever we made, she'd match it. So I can tell you, we make, what was the
They were actually still compiling the numbers.
Okay.
So
well,
it's not a final number. So
if
I don't
we
want to give out numbers that are
10,000.
false.
She'll give us a check for. She'll match it to $10,000. And she's been so instrumental. Like I said, Laura Cruz. That's who the scholarship is named after. Young, energetic, educated woman, articulate. Oh, very. Her and her husband. I wanted to say thank you so much. And I'd like to reach out to the public of South Chicago or Chicago in general to please, if you can join us, you can help the Mexican Patriotic Club. I'm reaching out. Please join us. Our members are few right now, and whatever you have to contribute, your ideas, your time. We form committees, and we do need help. And we're expanding right now. How many members do we have right now, Juan? Do you have?
Oh boy. I'm going to take a wild guess and say, what, minimum 30 up to 50?
30 members. I don't want to say it, so we need help.
Because it's been a revolving door. You have your hardcore that have been there forever, and then the other one, the reason I said like 30 to 50 is you probably have a good core of 30, and then there's a revolving door with the rest of them, but we don't want a revolving door. We want them to, stay. So, especially because, he's still in good health,
Yeah.
He'll probably be around for a while still, but you still want to bring in the youth, so, and we want to lock him in to be the core, not to replace him, but to accompany the core that he's been a part of for the past 40 years.
I think what keeps me motivated and more in tune was the competitiveness. I think the 26th Street Parade, the parade on 26th Street, my God, and the one on 18th Street in Pilsen and Little Village, they're large and there's participation.
And there's a huge television coverage.
Right.
And huge coverage. This is what my dream, our patriotic family, Mexican patriotic family of South Chicago, we can do it. We can have a larger, more participation. And the streets are filled, the commercial. We start on 86th and Commercial, and we end on 99th.
Correct.
And both sides of the streets,
Just
Carlos,
flooded with people.
the children, the kids, the families, they come in from out of town, they come in from where they live in, and both sides of the streets are packed.
So your dream is well, I mean, I think one claim to fame that parade has that these others in Pilsen and Little Village don't is that 75 years of history.
Right.
Right. perhaps not as large as those, but like, yeah, you said perhaps with this new energy and this new outreach to young people,
Absolutely.
it'll be something that can and does happen. I'm curious, besides well, I'm curious because I'm in journalism. Besides the parade and these events, how are you hoping or thinking of helping preserve some of this history, which is it's Midwest history, it's Mexican history, it's Mexican American history, and it's American history, really, here in the Midwest. What are you doing? Are you doing anything to record?
Well, I mean, we do have a historian,
Mm-hmm.
so that's the position, you know, to educate the rest of us on that. But as we bring in new members, that's probably what the criteria should be. Like, you need to learn the history before anything, you know, because you need to have a sense of pride in, you know, what you're doing. That way we don't have a revolving door. We want to retain the people. So
If we don't learn from history, we're destined to repeat it, and we don't want to repeat it. Our past historians were documenting the past queens, but the perfect question why we need the new technology, you know,
to preserve the information.
to preserve the information because of World War II. Before World War II, in 1930s when we started, there was the migration, the Bracero program, Operation Wetback, you know,
Right. All that history.
which brought the Mexicano into the steel mills, into the railroads, where my tios, my dad, my father's brothers, we all worked, my wife's dad, Carmela, Danny Vargas's father, Danny and David Vargas's father worked in the steel mills. We had that steel mill, the making of the steel. But that's a very good question as far as preserving that from the South Chicago area, being the oldest Mexicano community in the city, to preserve and to learn from the past, the deindustrialization of the steel mills.
And when it's done right.
The question, what we want to know is what does lie in the future? You know, this technology, is South Chicago is going to come up. We have the Lakeside project coming up right now. The steel mill was knocked down, and that's tremendous. So it's going to be great. I think it's going to be perfect.
Definitely.
And where are we? Where is the Mexicano in this?
Right. And that's a very good point to end on. And unfortunately, we are out of time. Well, thank you so much again for coming out today. It was great to have you here and
Thank you.
to know that you're preserving our history down there.
Thank you so much. Thank you, CAN TV.
And to your audience, thank you for joining us. Perspectivas Latinas is a community service of CAN TV. If your nonprofit organization would like to work with CAN TV, call 312-738-1400 and ask for nonprofit services. Tune into Perspectivas Latinas for local issues and concerns every Thursday at 8:30 p.m. on CAN TV 21. I'm Juan Carlos Hernandez. Thank you for joining us.